welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. As I talked about last week, we've been letting the pet belted Galloway cows, Potsy and Preston, roam around by the house to eat down the grass, and they've been really great lawn mowers. But what we noticed this week was that they started to get into the rhubarb in the veggie garden by the house. And we did a little bit of Googling, and as far as we can tell, it's actually not toxic for cows, but large amounts are not good for them. And that otherwise, for people, the leaves are poisonous, and that it also has hallucinogenic properties. So we thought, best not to risk it, and that we should probably move the rhubarb. So the best place, of course, to move it is into the new fenced off area by the shed where we're growing the rest of our veggies. So I dug the rhubarb out from the old spot by the kitchen. Took about 5 trips in a wheelbarrow to dig out sections of it and replant it. And then we had a couple of days of rain after that, so it got watered in really well. We now have a gap in that veggie patch, so I'm thinking perhaps of moving some coriander from the shed garden over to the kitchen garden, and perhaps trying some other herbs over closer to the house as well, as they would be things that we would like to just grab quickly while we're cooking our dinner. And I think that the rhubarb actually was a little bit addictive, because the next day when Potsy and Preston were back in that area, the first place they went was to look for that rhubarb. So it's probably a good thing that we moved it for their health, but also we probably would have had none left if we'd left it where it was. We also completed the matching fence on the other side of the shed this week, so now we have a fence directly in front of the water tanks. So the area where the tanks and the shed garden is completely enclosed, so that none of the pet animals can get into that spot and trample on anything or eat our vegetables. All it needs now is a paint so that it will be sealed and matches in with the rest of the shed. I think we'll paint it the colour of the roof and the roller doors, and that will blend in really nicely. I talked a little bit about how I've noticed that nature has done really well during this lockdown, that there are definitely more kangaroos and frogs, and everything just seems a little bit more healthy. And what I noticed this week was that also the feral animals are doing much better too. There are a lot more rabbits and foxes. Even in the middle of the day, I was up in the bush and I saw 2 foxes just walking around, and I was even able to get reasonably close. So there's just nothing that's disturbing them right now. There's no hunters out, there's less cars on the road, there's a lot less that's threatening them, and that's definitely not good for the native wildlife. So I know that the land care group near us are in the process of a deer management program, but they're definitely going to have to look at a fox management program as well, because if they don't get a handle on them soon, they're going to be everywhere, and that's just not good for the native animals around here. All of my Christmas yarns are now in my shop. I've put together a mini skeins of Christmas past set, which looks like this. And there's all of the colours on the back. And my new colour for 2020 I've called Gingerbread House. Here it is here. It is brown and green and red and white. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I've knit up a little sample. I've kept it on the needles because I hadn't had time to block it yet, so it was easier to show you like this. And I thought I'd also show you all of the other colours knit up as well. So each year I knit at least one thing with my Christmas colours so I can get an impression of how they look knit up. So this is Ho Ho Ho, knit up into a pair of socks. This is by Candlelight, which is a fingerless mitt. That's Peppermint Pie in the sample square that I do most of my samples in. Festive Pavlova. And Sugar Plums. So they're all available right now on Gumboot Sock. And I've done something a little bit different this year. I have made them available for custom dye through till the end of October. On Gumboot Sock once stocks run out, but also on my Harvest DK base. So if you're wanting to knit something a bit chunkier, maybe a beanie or something like that for Christmas, then that would be the perfect yarn to do that as well. So each of them are listed by colour, and then you can choose either Gumboot Sock or Harvest. And what I will do is dye those up to order as the orders come in, with the last requests coming in by the end of October and shipped by no later than the 8th of November. So I hope that helps to give you some choices and to also be able to get the colour on the yarn base that you would like. I finished my granny stripe blanket. Well, I haven't woven in the ends, but the actual crochet is finished. I ended up with just a really small bit of the contrasting colour left, so it was time to stop. And I now have a really huge blanket of really great colours. It's been a really fun project to use up all of my different scraps. I didn't repeat a colour at all the way through. And it's a good enough size to be a really good lap blanket. So I might actually leave it down here in the shed, and it will be nice to just throw across when it gets a bit cooler. But I have all of these ends all along this side to weave in before I can call it properly finished. I'm thinking I will probably put another one of these onto the hook. I really enjoyed it. It was a great project to be able to just pick up and put down really easily. Really great use of mini skeins and scrap yarns. And I have little scraps of my own hand dyed yarn that I thought might be really fun to just collect into a blanket. It might be a much longer term project, maybe even quite a large blanket, but it will be good to just have it going and I can just pick it up whenever I feel like it. I'm still working on the Rio Kalina cowl by Kat Bordy. I've done a little bit more and I'm really enjoying how the random cables are starting to look, how they cross over, and that you can just pop them in whenever you feel like it. Still got quite a bit of the ball left, so I should get a bit of good length out of this. I'll keep working on this for this week. Maybe start another granny stripe blanket or something similar, and perhaps a pair of socks. But I haven't been crafting all that much. I've been busy obviously with the yarn dyeing and getting all that ready, and it's starting to get warmer. Today's going to be quite warm, I think about 28. So the knitting starts to reduce down a little bit. It's much harder to knit and crochet when it gets warm. So although I still do a little bit, it tends not to fill days like it does during winter. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. All of the details of the things I talk about and links to my shop are in the description box below. Please check it out, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.